and welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. The third annual international forum called Creative Ukraine has been held in Kyiv. This is a platform for officials and experts to discuss state policy when it comes to creative industries, entrepreneurs, international culture and economy experts, as well as civil society leaders who are taking part in panel talks. This year's forum was focused on the role of innovation in creative industries development. So what still needs to be done to boost Ukraine's creative potential even more? To discuss this, we welcome to our studio today Diemer. He's a team leader of the House of Europe program, Goethe-Institut, Ukraine. Hello, and thank you for joining.
Thank you. Hello.
So, as far as I know, you also were participating in this forum, and you were given a speech. What was it about, and what is your overall impression of the forum?
Thank you. I took the opportunity of the forum to present the House of Europe program, which is a new offer, if you want so, of the European Union for Ukrainians to engage in cooperation with international counterparts. And it's quite relevant for the creative industries because culture and creative industries is one of the main focuses of House of Europe. Although I must also say that House of Europe goes beyond only work in the culture and creative sector, also including other reform sectors in Ukraine, such as education, health, media and youth. But clearly culture and creative industries is the main focus of House of Europe, and that's why I was glad to take this opportunity to present it to those that can then actually be the main stakeholders and beneficiaries of House of Europe.
Well, could you dwell a little bit more on the program of the House of Europe? What does it do exactly? What's its goal? What's its aim? And how do you plan to achieve it?
Yeah, absolutely. So House of Europe, other than the name may insinuate, is not really a house, or if you want so, it's more than a house because it's, if you want so, an aggregator of opportunities. We provide funding for individual mobilities for professionals in diverse sectors to travel from Ukraine to EU to, for example, attend conferences, find partners, etc. We also fund projects, cooperation projects between Ukrainian organizations and their EU counterparts. We have a number of more grants that we're providing. But grants is not all we are doing. We're also providing dedicated training that is developed precisely for the needs of Ukrainians to develop capacities, for example, to get better at writing project proposals that then could lead to an application for project funding. And then finally, House of Europe is also about information, information not only on itself, but also on other opportunities. You must know that the EU and the EU member states actually have a lot of opportunities that are in principle open to Ukrainians. And many Ukrainians already take advantage of this. But yet we feel, and the EU also feels, that visibility and accessibility of such programs can still be improved. And this is also what the House of Europe will do. Not only in Kyiv, I should add, but also in the regions, because we feel that this is one very important focus of our work. You should go to the regions, should leave the bubbles that we have at conferences like, for example, the Creative Ukraine Forum, where people are already relatively well connected to the international opportunities, well informed, well aware of it, know how to apply, etc. We should go to the regions where this information is even more needed. Any
particular projects that have already been funded in the framework of the House of Europe project you could dwell on?
So House of Europe has just opened 1 month ago, on the 16th of October. We had the official kick-off. Since then, we have our website, www.houseofeurope.org.ua. And we have just run the first wave of calls, if you want so. We had 11 calls that opened 1 month ago. Some of them have already had their deadlines. Some are still open for application. For example, for project cooperation are still open. And then in the meantime, also new calls are opening up. And this will continue like that for the next 3 years. But since we are still new on the market, we have not yet funded anything. We are currently reviewing the many applications that we have already received. Or I should say not we are reviewing them, but a jury of independent experts is reviewing that. And then we will soon, in the upcoming month, enter the phase in which we'll see the first projects funded by House of Europe implemented.
Right. Is this your first time in Ukraine, you personally?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not, and I think I even had an interview at your TV channel earlier, because earlier what I was actually doing in Ukraine was, well, partly connected and partly quite different. I'm a musicologist and a composer in background, and I was doing research on traditional music and national identity in Ukraine. So I spent a couple of years with regular research visits in Ukraine. Before then, I started working at Goethe-Institut for the EU-funded House of Europe as a program manager.
All right, so how much creative potential, in your opinion, does Ukraine have?
I think a lot.
Since you're not new in the country.
Well, yes, I came to know quite a bit of cultural phenomena in Ukraine and quite a lot of people who are behind them. And I must say that I'm deeply impressed by how fresh and how meaningful the cultural productivity in Ukraine is, in my perception. What I want to say with that is that there is a lot going on, but then also the societal impact is always very strongly visible. If you're an artist, if you're a creative person in Ukraine, you make a contribution to society and you're well aware of that usually. And that is something that I very much appreciate and that fascinates me a lot about the cultural and creative sector in Ukraine. Because this is a question that you can always ask, like what is the role of culture in regards to society? But I think in Ukraine this question is particularly important and also actually is answered quite regularly. The answer is often given by the cultural action that people are bringing forward here, and I like that a lot.
Do you think that support from society is needed more for the creative sector in Ukraine than from the government?
I think the two are not mutually exclusive. I do think that a certain infrastructure for the dwelling of culture and creativity in a broader sense also, not limited to the classical cultural genres. A certain infrastructure should be provided by any governmental structure, just like streets or healthcare. Then on the other hand, the international side to this is something that we as foreign donors can naturally, complement with, because we have networks in the EU, we have experience in running international programs, so we can add this to the experiences of Ukrainian culture actors.
Well, you're not new in Ukraine, and clearly you're going to stay for a while now with the program of House of Europe. Is this the only project you plan to be working on, or maybe there is something else you plan to be working on in the future?
Well, House of Europe is not quite a small endeavor. Of the overall volume is more than 12 million that will be spent over the next 4 years. And we have, during the past half year, we have built up the team that is actually responsible for the implementation of this huge and, in many ways unprecedented project. So at the moment, I'm quite busy with that. However, the other thing that I, in a way, carry to Ukraine is also my earlier self as a composer and a musicologist. So I will be I will keep being interested in any form of interaction and collaboration with the cultural sector also in that role. And I will also be looking forward to get to know the cultural sector of Ukraine even better.
You being a musician and a composer, I would like you to give an evaluation of the music industry of Ukraine, because there are a lot of points of view that the musical industry of Ukraine is currently booming, that it has gone head over heels and it has gone over the top. What's your personal opinion?
I do see a lot of potential in the Ukrainian creative industries and music industries in particular. I also see that there are some cross-cutting issues that the music industry is facing in times of digitalization, in times of disruptive market mechanisms that are brought forward by the big data companies like YouTube, Google, etc. And I see that some of those challenges are particularly virulent in Ukraine as well, because in some of the EU countries, meanwhile, fortunately, I should say, we have a stronger awareness of the importance of fair remuneration for artists that must not be put in question by the fact that the music market is digitalized. Despite of the fact that my music is on YouTube, I have a claim to receive a fair remuneration for it, because otherwise I will have to stop making music as a cultural actor. And I think this is something, I think in Ukraine many people are doing music and are doing culture even the more in an idealistic way than they would do otherwise. And we have, I think in Ukraine we have a weak system of authors' remuneration or copyright
I agree.
associations. So I think this is a big challenge for Ukraine, because the great potential in Ukraine is that it's actually very, very strong in terms of IT and digitalization in many ways, and it has a strong cultural potential. So to merge the two in a way that is not at the expense of the authors, those that actually create what is later being listened to and distributed around the world on YouTube, that I see would be a big challenge, but also asset for Ukraine's future music market.
Well, hopefully we're going to be working on it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
That was Christian Diemer. He is the team leader of the House of Europe program, Goethe-Institut Ukraine. Thank you so much for watching Head to Head. Stay tuned with UATV for more.